Hello everyone, assalamu alaikum, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video that is something that I'm actually really excited to do. I feel like this is something that I would want to do, or I'd want to keep track of somehow, even if I wasn't posting videos on YouTube. Today I want to just kind of sit back and reflect on this past year. And I'm not talking about the year 2020, but I'm talking about this year of my life that I've been in Lebanon for the first time. So in today's video, I'm going to take you guys back to when I first arrived here and just kind of reflect on everything really about this year, the good, the bad, the many things that were unexpected, and just kind of bring you on like the journey of my life for the past year. And I don't know, maybe this video could help somebody somehow as well. Something that I've realized as I've been reflecting on this past year before making this video is that, you know, this whole year has been filled with unexpected events. So coming here itself, for me at least, was actually something unexpected. I was planning on just going to graduate school and studying and then getting a job, and that was like kind of my trajectory, even after I got married to somebody who was studying overseas. And then I made kind of an unexpected decision to put that plan on hold and come here and do my own learning, my own like self-improvement in this country, and to be with my husband. And that was a very unexpected decision for me because it wasn't like the educational path I had been on my entire life. But while there have been so many unexpected things and things that have been difficult to deal with, I would say, you know, being here has also come with a lot of blessings. Like, you know, seeking Islamic knowledge, that's not something that I've ever been able to focus my time on. It's something that being here has allowed me to do. And, you know, I've never had the time to focus on learning Arabic, and which is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and being here has allowed me to do that. Even if I stopped right here, right now, the amount I've learned so far has helped me so much in being able to continue my studies in the future of Islamic knowledge, and being able to, you know, understand things in my religion a lot better than I do now. I've also met a lot of people here in Lebanon, both Lebanese and, you know, fellow Americans who have been here for similar reasons that I've connected like on a very deep level with. I think because we're all kind of experiencing the same thing. We all have similar values, etc. But we're all here for a very similar reason, and we live in the same place. We're experiencing the same things in a foreign country for the first time. I've gained a lot personally, and I've gained a lot in terms of friendship. Yeah, it's been a good year. So I came to Lebanon in 2019, August 25th, I'm pretty sure was the date. My cat literally always. My husband and I flew internationally from Boston, Massachusetts, USA, and we took Qatar Airlines. I'm just telling you all the details as I remember them. So we took Qatar Airlines, we flew here, we arrived, you know, all was well. I had already arranged my tutor prior to coming, so a lot of you know I have been learning Arabic here, and I've been learning with a tutor. So I'd already arranged like who I was going to be taught by, how much I was going to pay them, things like that. I had everything kind of in order. We had an apartment already. And, yeah, so everything was, you know, looking really bright for the school year, and I was very excited and, you know, hopeful that I would make really large strides from where I started, knowing very little to none to no Arabic, to where I am now. And, you know, that basically did happen. So that's how I came into the year. I had never been away from the United States for this long, and I'm still here, by the way. It's June 29th, and I'm still in Lebanon. So I've been here this entire year, have not visited home. I came and then I started my classes. I was making progress. I really liked my teacher, still do. I love her, she's great. So then after a couple of months, so if you didn't know, I grew up with cats at home. Like, I've always had a cat since I was 3 years old. So being here and seeing how many stray cats there were outside, it was very strange for me to not have a cat in my house. So I decided that I wanted to have a cat. You know, our original plan was, and still is, you know, stay here for several years. So I was like, why not get a cat here? And we'll have her while we're here. And so I looked for a cat on OLX, this website, kind of like a Craigslist, but in Lebanon. And I found somebody who was selling kittens. And so I got my cat. I'll insert a picture of her somewhere on the screen. So we were set to pick her up on October 15th. This was 2 months after she was born. And so a couple of days before we left to go and pick up the cat, This is kind of when the many unexpected things that have happened this year started, which is why I'm telling you the story of my cat, because her timing and when she was brought into our life is very much around the time when I guess you could say, chaos started in this country and worldwide. I mean, we think of like the chaos starting in 2020 with Corona and protests in the United States, protests abroad because of economic reasons, you know. But for me, the chaos, so to speak, started in late 2019. So anyways, so 2 days prior to us picking her up, there were really bad wildfires in Lebanon, and as they were not taken care of very well by the government had equipment to take care of them, and they were not using it because they had not allocated money for this equipment's upkeep. And so as a result, the country needed a lot of foreign help, and they also were not able to deal with the wildfires in a timely manner, and you know, a lot of land was lost and people's like livelihoods and homes, etc. So the citizens of the country were really upset about this, but I'll get to that in a moment. So this was about 2 days before we went to get the cat, and the wildfires were happening north of us, and then the cat was located south of us. So we borrowed somebody's car, and we, like me and my husband, we drove way down south into southern Lebanon, and we got my cat. And she was a very adorable, cute little kitten, and we got her, we brought her back. It was quite a long trip, and we were kind of like afraid we wouldn't be able to get there because it was like a stormy day and there were wildfires like we were saying, but I really wanted to get her, and so we got her without any problems. And then I believe like 2 days later, so massive protests in Lebanon started, and ultimately what they were protesting is corruption in the government. You know, the government not dealing with the wildfires properly was just one example of, you know, dysfunction within the country. And so people were protesting that, and they were, as a form of protest, they were blocking off main roads. So people were not able to get to work. And my husband and my brother and sister-in-law were all not able to go to school. So they were home for about 2 to 3 weeks, I think, during that time, which was crazy, you know, like, and very unexpected. It was a difficult time, I would say, because, and I would say this more specifically for them than for me, but they didn't know when they would be going back to school, and they just kind of kept studying, but not knowing if they were studying the right thing because they didn't have a lot of direction, of course, because they were not in school. So it was a hard time for them. But then, you know, eventually the uproar and the protests became less. And after they started going back to school, every now and again there would be a day or something where the roads would be blocked and they couldn't get to school. So this would happen every couple of weeks, or it would happen sometimes once a week. But for the most part, things were back to normal, and I was taking my lessons consistently, and you know, everything was good, and we were happy, we were doing what we were supposed to be doing while here, etc. It was nice. This pretty much lasted for, I would say, around like 3 months or so. People were not struggling as much economically as they were when the protests were preventing people from getting to work. Those were the unexpected things that happened in the fall. So then fast forward to the winter of 2020, and my mom came to visit in January of 2020, and it was really wonderful. We got to show her around Lebanon with a few hiccups. I mean, there were protests, I think, that week more than there had been like any other week since the larger protests earlier in the year. Just honk at them or something. barely made that. 5 minutes later. And so that blocked us from being able to visit certain places in Lebanon, but we also, as a result of our detours that we would take because of the protests, got to see a lot of other beautiful sights that we wouldn't have necessarily seen. So, you know, it was really wonderful having her here for a week. I missed home, of course, a lot, and it was nice kind of having a piece of home come to us. So then about 2 months later, in March of 2020, as we all know, Corona hit, and it started out, you know, with a small number of people, and then it kind of spread worldwide. And it spread to the United States, you know, really badly, and it also spread here. And I would say that the Lebanese government, their response to it was actually pretty fast. And so as soon as there were a couple of cases in the country, the schools shut down, and people stopped being able to go to work. And, you know, and I honestly do think that that is a huge reason that numbers have remained relatively low here. I think the current numbers are around 1,600 people who have had corona. But there were also a lot of strict rules in place. Like there were restrictions on like which cars could leave which days. So if your license plate ended in even numbers, you could leave on some days. If it ended in odd numbers, you can leave on other days. And we didn't know how long that would last. Soon after corona kind of hit this country, my husband, for an unexpected reason, had to be long distance within the country. So he had to, he wasn't able to live in our apartment for a long period of time. And so yeah, that was also really difficult to deal with. And I wasn't able to be in lockdown, so to speak, with my husband. A bright spot of that, difficult time was that I was able to kind of bond with the other women that I know in this complex about the difficulty that we were going through, being in this country, having limited ability to leave our apartment complex. And I would talk to them about, how I felt about not having my husband around, and we would hang out a lot to kind of make each other feel better about our situation. We were all pretty homesick by this point and kind of just looking forward to when we would be able to go home. So we were saying this is a difficult situation right now, but we just have to make it through until May, June, and then we'll be home free and hopefully the difficulty will have passed. So I think spending a lot of time talking to them really helped me kind of cope and helped me get through the difficult time. But then after my husband, was done with school for the year, kind of when corona was slowing down a little bit and the lockdown was becoming a bit less stringent, my husband and I decided to rent a car, and we kind of traveled around Lebanon, and I made a whole vlog about that, so I'll put the link up here. But yeah, we traveled around Lebanon. We saw really beautiful sights. We went to different waterfalls in different parts of the country. We went to Tripoli, we went to the beach, and it was amazing. And that was kind of an unexpected highlight, sort of, coming after the cloud that corona was. It made me feel a lot better about the situation that we were in and about being homesick and all that. And then kind of soon thereafter that, the Black Lives Matter movement kind of elevated, and as a result of the death of George Floyd. I mean, we've been having these problems in the United States for hundreds of years. I think the problems kind of came to a boiling point, and people were and still are, because it's still going on right now, demanding change and demanding Black voices to be heard. It's been difficult, I think, for people in the US, having the scariness that comes along with corona, and then also dealing with the scariness of the racial violence that's been happening in the United States. So that was another thing that was heavy on our hearts, even though we're not in the United States. It's something that, we started doing our own research and thinking about what we can do to make a change within our own social circles. It's heavy. This is another thing that was, unexpected but necessary. So that was another event that happened, and I would say it's still ongoing. But until true changes are made with systematic racism in the United States and police brutality, etc., I think this movement hopefully will continue to simmer and to kind of always be in our minds and in our hearts. So then through all this, and this is something that I actually forgot to mention, but when corona started, something that happened that I think affected us, the Americans abroad, when school shut down and work shut down, the airport also closed. The Lebanese airport closed. And I think that was something that was difficult for us as Americans being here and wanting to go home. We were hopeful that, it would be open at the very latest by June, but it's still actually closed. It's June 29th and the airport has not reopened. So that was something that was also difficult for me and for my family and for my friends here as well, because we're all missing the United States so much. Yeah, we all just expected to be able to go home, have our nice summers at home with our family, and to just have the conveniences of being in our home country. I mean, this is something that I've talked about in other videos before, but being in Lebanon is really amazing because I'm learning about so many different cultures, not just Lebanese culture, but other cultures too, because the friends that I have here are international and they come from so many different places. And I think that's been an amazing experience, but at the same time, we miss what we're familiar with. And then another unexpected thing that has happened, in the last several months is that I was looking for online jobs, and I wanted to be able to work this summer online so that I could kind of save up money for the coming year. And I found that it was actually a lot more difficult to find work online than I expected, especially for somebody who's not located in the United States. So there are a lot of online jobs available, but a lot of them require that you are actually physically in the United States, and that was something I didn't expect. So that was also another point of sadness for myself. And then also in the past several months, my parents decided to move from the house that I grew up in. And that, while that's a point of happiness because I'm happy for them and that they're making this like big step, which is I know something that they wanted to do after my brother and I moved out. They wanted to downsize and they wanted to get a house that, you know, they didn't have to pay a mortgage on anymore. Given that we're in rocky economic times, this seemed like the best time to do it. So my parents, they went house hunting and they found a house that they loved and that we loved too, looking at pictures. And they put their own house on the market and it sold super fast. My parents moving, I think that for me, while it's something that I've been very happy about, it's also been a point of sadness for me, something that I've actually like cried about. I didn't know when I left the United States, when I left Massachusetts this past summer, that that would be the last time I would see the house that I grew up in, that I lived in since I was 3, and I'm 23 now. So I didn't know that, and how could I? I mean, there's no way I could have known coming into this year how many different unexpected things would have come out of it. I was taking in, you know, Corona, the Black Lives Matter movement, my parents moving, not being able to find a job, all at once, while also having really wonderful things happen, like, you know, visiting around Lebanon and continuing to learn more about, you know, the friends that I have here and bonding with them about like the difficulty that we're going through. I've also been fortunate enough to be with my husband these past several months. So it's been a lot, I would say. I mean, the year 2020 in particular, a craziness, so to speak, started in 2019, but it's been like thing after thing after thing. And yeah, so it's something that I feel like this year is like a year I've just been having to roll with the punches. I've just been taking one after another while also trying to remember to stay thankful for the positive things that I have. So kind of on that note, I want to finish off this video reading something that I actually wrote when I was planning this video, because I usually plan out my videos in notes on my phone. So I want to read what I said kind of as a conclusion to the crazy year that it's been. I think it sort of sums up how I feel about the year as a whole. Like, I don't want to sit here and just be like, oh, it's been such a tough year, like feel bad for me, like listen to me complain. Because I mean, I think it's been a really tough year for a lot of us. It's not just me. And I think there's always, even when we are going through difficulty or we're going through emotional turmoil or whatever, there's always something that you can take out of it that's a positive. There's always something that, you know, you can be thankful for. And that's not to say that it's not okay to be not okay, because sometimes we're just not okay. But at the same time, you know, we have to cope and to move on. We have to be able to look at things from kind of like a bird's eye view and see it in a positive light and be thankful for the life that we have been granted. This is what I said. I think reflecting on the year as a whole, I can see a pattern of ups and downs, storms and then calm. And when I look at these patterns, it actually makes me hopeful that after this homesickness that I have right now, and then also feeling like I'm trapped because I can't go home because the airport is closed. So after this homesickness, there will be a calm or a peace, like an end to the storm, and happiness will come and things will be better. I saw throughout this past year, you know, there would be protests, and then there would be calm, and I would be learning, and it would be great. And then like my mom came, and that was an amazing thing. And then Corona hit, and that was a storm. And then I went on an amazing trip with my husband, and that was a calm or a peace. And then, you know, Black Lives Matter boiled over, and that was something that weighed heavy on a lot of our hearts. But I think the piece that came after that was actual change, like people actually reflecting on what kind of privilege they have, and people of color telling their story so that others can hear, you know, what they've experienced and reflect on their own life circumstances and educate themselves, educate their families, etc. So that's the peace or the calm that's come through that, and hopefully that continues. And then the next storm, I guess, has been for me, my parents moving and the sadness that has brought me, and my homesickness. And after seeing the pattern of the year where I've had these ups and these downs, or these downs and then ups, I can look back at that and be confident that a peace or calm or to this storm that I'm currently emotionally feeling will come, because that seems to be the pattern of my life this past year. Sometimes it's easy to dwell in your sorrow and be like, well, what if this happens, or what if that happens, to make the already difficult situation worse. But I think actually reflecting on the year and looking at all the different events that have happened, gives me evidence that happiness usually follows hardship. You know, this is my personal story and my personal storm, and I think the calm is coming. So while the airport is not open, like I said, it is scheduled to open on July 1st. And every time the government has scheduled the airport to open, you know, about 7 days prior, they've decided to push back that date. But now we're 2 days out, and there has been no pushback to that date. So it's looking like the airport is going to open on July 1st, which hopefully we can book our tickets to go home and finally be reunited with our families soon. Yeah, that's been pretty much the year. And this has been what I've been dealing with emotionally this year. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but I think looking at the year, it gives me confidence that I can handle what comes at me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave you insight into my life a little bit. And also I hope it can help you if you're going through a difficult time. So I hope that this kind of gives you confidence or inspires you to reflect on your own life. Find the light at the end of each dark tunnel that you've experienced. And I think hopefully that'll give you confidence. That light will come for you at the time that it's meant to come for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a long one, so I appreciate you for sticking through. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below if you have any questions or if you can relate to my story, and I will see you guys next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Bye.